Good morning. My name is David Weinberg. I represent the Texas League of Conservation Voters. This morning I am here on behalf of, with a handful of other speakers, representatives from the Alliance for a Clean Texas. We're here this morning at the Capitol to call on the state government to encourage the state legislature to find ways to raise money for the current for the coming biennium, which we believe would help soften the blow of budget cuts to science education in the classroom, to our park system, to our environmental enforcement, that would also create revenue in ways that did environmentally good things. We are encouraged. The state Senate has convened a subcommittee on this matter and is looking for additional revenue for the coming budget. We have four proposals this morning that we'll be talking about, and four speakers on those proposals. I will be introducing them. The first speaker is Tom Smitty Smith from Public Citizen, who will be talking about raising revenue from coal. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Tom Smith, or Smitty. I'm Director of Public Citizen's Texas office. And coal is a tremendous energy source for the state of Texas, but it comes at a high cost. A high cost in terms of health care, a high cost in terms of displaced dollars going someplace else for imported coal. So there are two suggestions that we would like to make that we think in total could raise about $475 million a year. The first would be to create a fee for offloading coal that comes in from other states, or some of the coal that gets transported from one part of Texas to another, as similar ways to we do with petroleum fees today. And as a result of that, we think we could come up with about $190 million worth of new revenue that would help fund the budget shortfall. Another good idea is to put a severance tax on lignite mined here in Texas. And if we were to put a lignite severance tax similar to the ones that we assess on oil and gas revenue, or oil and gas extraction, we believe we could raise about $48 million per year in additional revenues to help fund the state budget. And so we're not just going after imported coal, but we're going after the coal that's mined here in Texas. And knowing that oil and gas have long paid severance taxes and have been a reliable and large portion of the state budget, we're calling for simple equality. Do for coal what you do for natural gas. Make it a significant part of the state budget, and it will become a way to begin to help reduce some of the health care costs. And if instead of investing money in coal that is mined in other places like Wyoming, we begin to shift to other kinds of cleaner energy sources, it will be a net gain for Texas, because other things like energy efficiency, renewable energy, and natural gas create jobs here in Texas as opposed to those in Wyoming and other states from which we are importing coal. So we think it's a win-win, and thank you very much for your time. And I'll pass it on back to David.
Next, we will be hearing from Robin Schneider for Texas Campaign for the Environment, who will be talking about how Texas can raise revenue by creating a refundable beverage container program in the state.
Hi, my name is Robin Schneider. I'm the Executive Director of Texas Campaign for the Environment. I am not here to drink beer, but I am here to say that this represents a gold mine. The cans and bottles that we throw in the trash could actually be bringing in millions of dollars for the state's budget. Here's how. If we put a 5-cent deposit on a bottle or can this size, consumers would have an incentive to recycle and get their deposit back. This has been proven in other states. It's a way to clean up our state and reduce litter costs. States with a refundable deposit get about 80% of the bottles and cans back and keep them out of the landfills and keep them as recyclable resources for industry. However, about 20% of the deposits will not get refunded. And though that money is available, a lot of it, for the state budget. This could bring hundreds of millions of dollars into the state of Texas each 2-year budget cycle. So it's a common sense green revenue source that Texans support. By more than 2 to 1 in a poll this year, Texans said, we want a refundable bottle deposit to cut down on litter, to increase recycling, to bring revenue into our state. So it's a win-win on so many levels. This bottle of beer was actually purchased at a family dinner in Corpus Christi at a Middle Eastern restaurant. And lo and behold, on the bottle it said that Texas was one of the states with a recycling refund. So it's time for the Texas legislature to make that true. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Next, we will be hearing from Luke Metzger from Environment Texas, who will be talking about how the state can raise green revenue from an idea from the Texas Legislative Budget Board, which is to put a surcharge on fuel-inefficient vehicles.
Thanks, David. And my name is Luke Metzger. I'm the Director of Environment Texas. As David said, this recommendation actually comes from no less an august body than the Legislative Budget Board, who in their report in January recommended that we put a $100 surcharge on fuel-inefficient cars and trucks. According to the LBB, more than 500,000 of these inefficient vehicles were registered in the state of Texas last year. And as a result, these vehicles are pumping out unnecessary pollution that is making our families sick and increasing our dependence on oil. So this recommendation actually would raise about $115 million in this biennium. So that would help our general revenue. It would also help reduce pollution and help encourage Texans to buy more efficient vehicles, which would end up saving them money. So we think this is a great recommendation. It's a win-win for the environment and for our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Last, we will be hearing from Cyrus Reed from the Lone Star chapter of the Sierra Club, who will be talking about a couple different initiatives involving ensuring that polluters in Texas pay.
Good morning. My name is Cyrus Reed. I'm Conservation Director of the Lone Star chapter of the Sierra Club. In Texas, most of our industrial facilities do play by the rules. They follow environmental rules, regulations, laws, but some don't. And when those don't and they are found guilty, they are assessed fines. However, in Texas, we historically have had very low fines. We've assessed low fines and we've collected low fines on those businesses that aren't playing by the rule. We went through a sunset process review of the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, which recommended, and it's in the bill, that we raise those maximum fees from $10,000 a day to $25,000 a day for major environmental fines. We support that recommendation, and we think it would raise about $40 million a year in additional revenues to the state. In addition to that recommendation, we in the Alliance for Clean Texas have long held the view that the TCQ should be recovering what's called the economic benefit of noncompliance. In other words, if you gain economically by not following the rules, in addition to the regular penalties, you should be assessed a penalty against that economic benefit you've gained. We don't know how much money that would raise, but a 2003 report from the Texas government said that industries are gaining about 8 times what they're assessed in penalties in terms of their economic benefit. We'd like to fix that problem, and we'll be working on some amendments to the Sunset Bill to do just that. The additional idea we have is we have what's called a volume discount cap in our rules for emitters of pollutants. Emitters of pollutants have to pay what's called an emissions fee to the TCQ, but it's capped at 4,000 tons per pollutant. If we were to eliminate that cap, and the large industries, like the large coal plants that emit the most pollution in our state, had to actually pay for each ton of pollutant they emit, we would raise about an additional $15 to $16 million a year in revenues that would help our clean air programs. So we're here to say it's time to make those who don't follow the rules pay and give a real incentive for those that do. Thank you very much, and we're happy to, all of us, answer any questions that you have.
I also wanted to mention briefly, and thank you, Cyrus, for all of these ideas, there is legislation which has been filed this session. Bipartisan legislation, some bills filed by Democrats, some bills filed by Republicans. Over here we have a check for $1 billion to the state in these 4 ideas to generate green revenue. The endorsement line is blank, but it is for the taking. The Texas legislature simply needs to move on these bills, and the environmental community in Texas will be behind them 100%. And again, generating critically needed revenue for the state to protect green programs, and at the same time doing environmentally beneficial things through all these legislative proposals.